Well, good afternoon. We're sorry we're just a tad late. Welcome to the Senate Government Affairs Committee, and Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Ornshaw,
Here.
Senator Gokachia, Senator Neal, Senator Hansen, Chair Don Daraloop.
Here. And I'm going to spare everybody the litany of how to get on and how to get off and how to participate. I think you probably heard it before, and we'll just start our Speaker Frierson Day off with a bang. And welcome, Speaker. We're so happy to have you in Government Affairs. And once again, apologies for being a little tardy to class. And we'll start with Assembly Bill 111. Is that correct, sir? Is that where we're starting? Well, we'll start with 111 then, sir. We agree on that. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Senate Government Affairs Committee. For the record, I am Jason Frierson, Assemblyman for District 8, Speaker in the Nevada State Assembly, and I am here to present several bills, so I guess we all need to get settled.
And for the duration.
First, Assembly Bill 111, which changes the composition of our Peace Officer Standards and Trainings Commission. But before I go through the sections of the bill, I want to express why I brought this bill forward. AB 111, in my opinion, represents a moderate step forward to increase trust and accountability in how our current and future peace officers are trained. Overall confidence in the police from 1993 to 2019 has steadily declined. A Gallup poll reviews public trust in various institutions saw a peak in police confidence at 64% in 2003, and in 2019, police confidence fell to 53%. Gallup also reported that trust in our law enforcement officers varies amongst demographics, with younger individuals, people of color, and women reporting lower confidence in police. For example, people of color report their confidence in police at 40%. Individuals aged 18 to 34 report their confidence at 39%, and women at 49%. I believe it's important this session more than ever that we continue to have collaborative conversations about how we should police our communities and what perspective should be provided in training officers so they are able to be effective in policing, but also be perceived as being accountable to the communities they police. I recognize that we have a lot of work to do to rebuild trust between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. I also know it will take a collective effort to build that confidence because we all want safe communities and law enforcement agencies that value the perspectives of that community. AB 111 is a way to modernize our police training standards. All states maintain peace officer standards and training, call it POST board or a similar entity. While every state's POST board operates differently, in general, POST boards create and manage training requirements for peace officers and are responsible for ongoing certification and continuing education. I'll now go through the actual language of the bill. Section 2.5 increases the POST Commission from 9 appointed members to 11 appointed members. In Section 2.5, subsection 2, the additional 2 members of the commission will be appointed by the majority leader of the Senate and the Speaker of the Assembly. The current composition of the POST Commission is representative of law enforcement agencies across the state. However, what has been missed is a civilian voice. In Section 2.5, subsections 2 through A through D, 2 of the appointees will not be peace officers and will represent expertise in one or more of the following areas: implicit and explicit bias, cultural competency, mental health and policing, and or experience working with vulnerable populations such as children, elderly, persons who are pregnant, persons who experience mental health crises, persons with physical, intellectual, or developmental disabilities. I see no better way at addressing community trust in our law enforcement than giving them a seat at the table as to how our peace officers are trained. Lastly, subsection 2.5, subsection 5, section 2.5, subsection 5 requires the appointing bodies to the commission to consider racial, gender, and ethnic diversity in the commission. Ultimately, the commission managing and developing training for peace officers should ensure that individuals making those decisions look like the populations they serve. That, in a nutshell, concludes my testimony. I want to thank members of the law enforcement community, and in particular, the director of Post, Director Sherlock, who I worked very closely with to come up with what we believe is a common sense way to enrich the composition of the Post Commission and make it, I think, more insightful moving forward. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions, committee? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in regards to the cultural competency piece, the pool of individuals that you expect to draw from to be placed on Post, where would they come from? Like, where are you going to pull them from?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Jason Frierson. I think that's incumbent upon the majority leader and the speaker at any given time when there's an opening to take those criteria into consideration. And as we have hundreds of other appointments, make sure that we are held accountable as well, and that we make sure that we appoint people with backgrounds that meet those needs. I can say from personal experience as speaker, there's several different boards and commissions that I have to make appointments to, and some of them are difficult. I think some of the regional behavioral health commissions that we have formed over the last several years require certain levels of expertise for certain purposes, and sometimes it's difficult. But by putting it in statute, it puts to ink the requirement that they have that background, and that I or a future speaker have to be able to be held accountable and articulate why they were appointed and why they're qualified.
So, and just one other quick question. I mean, I know that the cultural competency and implicit and explicit bias, but has there been consideration, and I mean, it's a simple bill, but has there been consideration around just having a diversity component and like making sure there's actually a person of color?
Thank you again for the record, Jason Frierson. There had not been consideration of making certain that it was a person of color, other than taking into account diversity. I don't believe that the current composition of Post is very diverse by virtue of the law enforcement agencies that they lead, but I do think that this requires not a mandate, but a consideration of diversity. And it's difficult. If you look at these areas, I think these are areas, and there's several pieces of legislation this session that look at implicit and explicit bias, look at policing, look at composition, look at hiring practices. And so I think the broader that we make it, but the more that we put some guardrails on it as a layer of expectation for the leaders of both houses, I think gives the flexibility. Some of these areas may be very difficult to find somebody who actually has this layer of expertise and coupled with their willingness to serve. But I do think that it speaks volumes to making sure that the appointments increase and improve the diversity of the Post composition without tying the hands so much so that it may be difficult or impossible to comply with.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Questions, Senator Hansen or Gocochea? No? Yeah, I thought I saw a hand up. I have a question, Speaker, on the, I see the term is 2 years for the members, but how, and I may be missing it, how often do they meet on this commission?
Thank you again for the record, Jason Frierson. I am unaware, and I do believe that the Director Sherlock, who's the Director of the Commission, I hope is available, who's helped me come up with this. I am unaware on its face how frequently they meet, because they deal with a lot of things from hiring to annual training and whatnot. But I would hope that the members of the commission would be able to answer questions about how frequently they meet.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I was asking is because I see all this very important work they need to do, and I just didn't know how long or how much time it would take to create the information that we need in order to make sure that these trainings are done accurately. So I was sort of going kind of from the school teacher point of view, right? I mean, I want to know how long it's going to take them to develop, or something already developed, it's just not being followed through on, or kind of give me that lay of the land.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. For the record, Jason Frierson. Obviously, this bill doesn't change the functioning of the post commission, but adds 2 members, and so it would add 2 folks to the body of individuals that do come up with those programs and training. But again, I'm unaware of how frequently they meet or if it's a set schedule.
Okay, thank you very much. Additional questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to support from our audience first. My goodness, as I live and breathe, just didn't know I'd see you 2 again. Good afternoon. We'll do a support testimony, so please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. John Pirro from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. We'd like to thank the Speaker for bringing this bill forward. We fully believe that adding a diverse perspective opens the door to better oversight and better decision-making along the way. And I think this is a bill worthy of support. We urge the committee to support this bill.
Thank you. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Kendra Birchie with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. First, I'm very sure you're surprised to see us also in support. So we are very happy to be here today in order to support this bill. We thank Speaker Frierson for bringing forward this extremely important bill to ensure that the community does have a voice. As I believe everyone on this committee can agree, especially those who with the teaching background, of having that additional education and training and providing that in the post will be extremely important to ensure that any trainings in the future that are developed have that unique perspective to be brought forward to the table. So we do believe that this will help to ensure that our officers do have the proper training needed, and we appreciate and urge your support today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support in the room? Then we will go to support on the phone lines. Broadcasting when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. If you would like to testify in support of AB 111, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 417. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 417. Please begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. This is, for the record, this is Mike Sherlock. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. First, let me thank Speaker Frierson for sponsoring this bill, making improvements on the bill, and advancing the bill. I truly believe the transparency associated with this bill, along with the community input and participation, are a good thing for standards and training of peace officers. And I truly look forward to this new dynamic on the commission. So I'd ask that you please take note and record my support for AB 111, and thank you. And I would just add, based on the prior question, that the commission meets a minimum of 4 times a year, and as at the call of the chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 871. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Navid Afshar. That's Navid, and the last name is Afshar. And I'm calling today on behalf of the Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice. We are testifying in support of this bill. I would also like to thank Speaker Frierson for his work on this. We believe this is definitely a step in the right direction. A lot of the categories that have been added about implicit and explicit bias, cultural competency, mental health, these are really important things when knowing how to be able to respond to these situations. And with everything that's going right now in society, we believe that this is really important work, and we urge the committee to please pass this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 695. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Holly Wellborn, HOLLYWELBORN, Policy Director for the ACLU of Nevada, testifying in support of Assembly Bill 111. We are quite excited about this bill. I think it has a much broader reaching impact than we're really recognizing right now. I want to point out that currently 8 of the 9 members on the Post Commission are members of law enforcement. As an organization, we're constantly pointing out the deeply flawed policy of permitting law enforcement to govern themselves with little meaningful community input. There is a multitude of highly trained professionals and diverse voices that would be an asset to this commission. This bill is important for building community trust, and we applaud Assembly Speaker Frierson for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 556. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIEGRANT. I just want to echo the other callers' sentiments. I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 668. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Troyce Crumme, TROYCE. KRUMME, representing the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association, representing the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We are calling today in support of AB 111. We believe adding these pieces to the post board would be a step in the right direction of increasing public trust. We also believe that the community should have a voice in policing, and we believe that this is a step in the right measure. We'd like to thank Speaker Frierson for bringing an important issue like this in front of the board, and would encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently on support of AB 111. If you'd like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 683, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Rick McCann, RICK, capital CANN, and I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and a member of the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition. I'm here today in support of AB 111. AB 111, in its amended form, simply adds 2 members to the Post Commission who have demonstrated expertise in one or more of the listed areas. We're dealing with things like implicit and explicit bias, cultural competency, mental health as it relates to policing, and working with vulnerable populations. It's 2021. Police reform is here. Policing is changing. You know what? We can handle it. Bring it on. Let's do what we can. We support AB 111, and we encourage this committee to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll move to opposition.
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 111, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll move to neutral.
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 111, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, Speaker, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I will be brief. I really want to thank the members of the law enforcement community that really stepped up. And this wasn't a function of compromise. This was a function of, from their perspective, giving me insight that made this bill better. And so I appreciate it and look forward to this committee's consideration.
Thank you very much. And with that, we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 111. Would you like to go to the other bill that sort of matches this, or would you like to go in order?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to go in order because I have Governor Bob Miller who would like to testify, and I don't want to keep
Perfect.
him.
All righty, well, then we will go to Assembly Bill 187. Thank you very much, and please begin when you are ready, sir.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jason Frierson, Assemblyman for District 8, and I'm here to present Assembly Bill 187, which designates the month of September as Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month. Nationally, Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Awareness Month is already recognized in September. This bill will align our state efforts with national efforts. Based on analysis from our state biostatistician, Kira Morgan, prostate cancer is the most common cancer among men here in Nevada. And across the country, the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths for men. Black men are disproportionately affected by prostate cancer, with diagnosis and mortality rates significantly higher than any other race or ethnicity. Additionally, ovarian cancer is the 5th most common cause of female cancer mortality in Nevada and in the United States. In Nevada, ovarian cancer diagnosis is highest amongst Asian women, though mortality rates are also highest for Black and white women. This year, the American Cancer Society estimates that across the country, over 248,500 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and over 34,100 men will lose their lives from prostate cancer this year alone. Additionally, the American Cancer Society estimates that in 2021, over 21,400 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and over 13,700 women will lose their lives from ovarian cancer this year alone. Based on data from our biostatistician, 26% of prostate cancer and 73% of ovarian cancer is diagnosed late. Unfortunately, early detection and screening for ovarian cancer is rather difficult and has led to increasing late diagnoses. Prostate cancer testing has fortunately become less invasive and has led to much earlier diagnosis. It's critical that we continue to bring awareness and advocacy to the cancers that impact our lives and the lives of our loved ones. It's critical that we normalize seeking medical attention and promote early detection. I chose to bring Assembly Bill 187 forward this session in particular because of a personal story that I'm sure you all are aware of by now. In March, I underwent an outpatient procedure to remove my own prostate cancer. To give some perspective, and I really brought this bill because I want to normalize conversations about this issue. In 2018, I was diagnosed, and it was by virtue of a PSA test, a blood test, the normal range being from 0 to 4, particularly for my age. In 2018, mine was already at 5, and so there was concern, and we watched it. It stayed around 5, and in October of 2020, it was at 5, and by December of 2020, it shot up to 7.3. But it was because I caught it early and I was monitoring it that it was able to be treated. And actually, just last weekend, I had a teledoc visit, and my PSA is 2.6. And so it is entirely because we caught it early and monitored it. And I jokingly, but not really jokingly, say, if my wife can give birth to 2 children, I can talk about prostate cancer. You know, it's something that men don't like to talk about. It's something that men just don't like to talk about, and it's something that men have to. Just this past year, Leon Spinks passed away of complications from prostate cancer, and it just makes no sense that such a preventable outcome can be addressed with early detection. And you know, with respect to prostate cancer, I said it in the assembly, but there's no better use of the phrase man up than when you're talking about prostate cancer and having it addressed. So I'm happy to use my position and my platform to share that story and encourage others, especially those reluctant to seek care, to do so. I also recognize that I'm not alone. So I'm grateful to the doctors and patients and survivors and advocates who are joining me today to share their own stories. And with that, I would first like to, with Madam Chair's permission, turn the presentation over to Governor Bob Miller, who has also publicly shared his story and shared it with me just the same. So with that, with your permission, I'd like to hand it over to Governor Miller.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and welcome, Governor Miller. It's a pleasure to see you, sir.
It's a pleasure to see you, Madam Chair.
Please go ahead when you're ready.
You're doing well. And Madam Chair, Senators, First, let me express appreciation for the opportunity to speak on behalf of this bill. As the speaker said, I am a cancer survivor. 25 years ago, while I was serving as governor of the state of Nevada, my annual physical initially turned up no indications of prostate cancer, but my doctor at the time seemed to look at some of the results and was a little concerned and ordered further tests. Those further tests determined that I had early stage prostate cancer. My decision from there was what action to take with this situation facing me. Ultimately, I decided on removal, radical prostatectomy. But I also felt that I had an obligation, not just to my family and to myself, but to all the people in the state of Nevada, to make them aware of the circumstances. And so I held a press conference alongside my doctor, which indicated that I was scheduled for surgery, that was a course that I had chosen. I outlined the other choices that were possible, and my doctor outlined any of the medical considerations. I proceeded therein to go forward with my determination. This was an early stage finding, which was fortunate for me, but it's something that it escapes a lot of people who don't go and get tested and have the follow-ups that worked for me and are working for the speaker. The reward I got from this, not to displace the concern that I had, but the reward I got was after the fact. Not only that as it worked, obviously, but for the first couple of years at least, I would frequently get phone calls or text messages or other communications from individuals who had been diagnosed with early stage prostate cancer and indicating that they had decided to take the test because they had watched or observed the press conference that I had. That's why I support 187, because by bringing to citizens' attention the need to be scrupulous when dealing with testing for either prostate or ovarian cancer, it will in fact save some lives. And so I'm pleased to be able to join the speaker and others in encouraging the support of this bill.
Thank you very much, Governor, for sharing your story, and we're thrilled that you are with us today and that you are well. So thank you very much, and our good wishes to the former First Lady, please.
She's peeking around the corner at me
right
now.
Yay. Thank
She's holding the dogs so that they don't echo my comments.
Thank you very much. Speaker?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Jason Frierson. I wanted to let you know that on the Zoom, I believe, are Helen O'Hanlon with the ovarian cancer patient of Comprehensive Cancer Centers, Alex Garza, the prostate cancer patient of Comprehensive Cancer Centers, John Bilstein, the CEO of Comprehensive Cancer Centers, Dr. Rupesh Parikh of the Medical Oncologist Comprehensive Cancer Centers, and Pastor Mike Patterson, who many of you may already know from his involvement over the years up here in Northern Nevada, who have agreed to also participate via Zoom.
Okay, we will go through the list. I believe we're starting with Ms. O'Hanlon. Would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Dondera Loop, Vice Chair Orenshaw, and members of the committee. My name is Helen O'Hanlon, and I have a rare form of ovarian cancer, stage 4 granulosa cell tumor, and I have been a cancer patient for 13 years. I am here today to speak in support of AB 187, designating the month of September as Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month in Nevada. The importance of cancer awareness, early detection, and prevention is crucial. From my own experience, had my cancer been caught earlier, my life would have been drastically different. 13 years ago, I was in my mid-30s, a successful general manager in the hotel business, and looking forward to starting a family with my fiancé. At the same time, I was experiencing bloating, missed menstrual cycles, and a cyst on my ovaries. I sought guidance, advice from friends, peers, doctors, anyone who would listen, and everyone dismissed it as normal female issues that women in their mid-30s experience, and probably just stress from work and planning a wedding. 6 months later, I had an emergency operation because my ovary burst. The cyst turned out to be ovarian cancer. In the last 13 years, my cancer has returned 9 times. I've had 12 surgeries to remove tumors, 3 different chemotherapies, and 3 series of radiation. As you can imagine, my dreams changed, and my goal changed to staying alive. Just 4 years ago, I was no longer operable and had ran out of options. I started seeing Dr. Parikh with Comprehensive Cancer Center to continue treatment and prepare for end of life. Dr. Parikh had other plans. He, along with Dr. Curtis, pioneered a treatment using cyberknife radio surgery. And this has allowed me to be here today, living a good quality of life and stabilizing my cancer. I am still here. I am surviving, and now have a new goal: to share awareness and share hope by telling my story. I tell my story to many different Facebook groups that have my cancer about the treatment options that I have just recently done. And I still do other things. But what's surprising is still after 13 years, only 20% of women diagnosed with ovarian cancer are caught in the early stages. I feel it is my honor and responsibility to share my story, to educate and help others. I also want to thank Speaker Frierson for his bravery in sharing his personal journey with cancer. The more we talk about cancer, the more awareness we bring to it. Cancer awareness is the first step. Education about prevention and early detection can save lives. Thank you for your time today and for allowing me to speak on behalf of this important bill.
Thank you so much, Ms. O'Hanlon, and thank you for sharing your story. And we're happy that you're here and that you can share that important piece of information. I think we'll wait for questions until we've heard from our guests. So, Mr. Garza, are you there? Would you like to go next, sir?
Yep.
Welcome to Government Affairs.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Dondero Loop, Vice Chair Orenshaw, and members of the committee. My name is Alex Garza. I am a 2-time prostate cancer survivor, and I'm here today to speak in support of AB 187, designating the month of September as Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month in Nevada. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. I was first diagnosed with prostate cancer back in 2017 at the young age of 46. And if you're doing the math, yes, I just turned 50. Very grateful for that. And this was only a few months before I lost my mother to a very difficult battle with ovarian cancer. At that time, I chose to have a complete prostate removal based on the aggressiveness of my cancer and the advancement of it. But my cancer returned at the latter end of 2018, early 2019. So I had to go through hormone therapy and radiation therapy as well. It was these experiences that have led me to be an advocate for cancer patients and advocate for prevention and cancer awareness. I'm dedicated to ensuring that every single man, every single woman out there understands the need to go get tested and takes control of their health. Having prostate cancer, and especially a prostate removal, drastically changes the physical and mental aspects of being a man. And for too many years, there have been a stigma around the embarrassment of getting tested or going through treatment, or even the rehabilitation of cancer, especially prostate cancer patients. I've dedicated my life and made it my mission to share my story with anyone that I can, to support men, to support women, to ensure that whatever they're going through, they have the support they need to ensure that they can deal with the prevention, cancer awareness, and rehabilitation. I'm very fortunate to have met Dr. Parikh and the wonderful staff at Comprehensive Cancer Center who has been treating me for the last 4 years. And I am grateful, I credit them for saving my life and allowing me to be a father for hopefully 25 plus years as Governor Miller has survived. Statistics say that prostate cancer occurs in much older men, but that was not true in my case. If I think back to the age of 41, I was exhibiting signs of prostate cancer, yet being a macho, invincible young man, I refused to acknowledge those symptoms. I consider the age of 46 to be young for prostate cancer. And the reality is had my mom not been battling her own cancer, I'm not sure I would have recognized the signs even as early as I did. Through my own personal experience, I am passionate about cancer advocacy and sharing my story with others to help raise awareness about cancer, early detection, and prevention. Speaking from my own prostate cancer experience, I want to thank Speaker Frierson for his bravery and for being an advocate for all cancer patients and survivors, and for being a voice on this extremely important issue. I want to thank you today for your time.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story and the important details of that. And stand by. We may come back. Next, Mr. Bilstein. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Welcome.
John Bill Stein for the record.
Welcome.
It's okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Dondera Loop, Vice Chair Orenshaw, and members of the committee. My name is John Bill Stein, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Comprehensive Cancer Centers in Nevada. And here today to speak in support of AB 187, designating the month of September as Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month in Nevada. I'd like to recognize Speaker Frierson for his bravery and use of his platform to highlight this important issue in our community. One of the biggest tools we have to fight serious health conditions is the power of education. That's why Prostate and Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month is so important, because it rallies Nevadans together to spread awareness and show support for each other. A bill like AB 187 is critical in the fight against cancer, and it helps to facilitate conversations and exchange information with a common goal of empowering each other with the knowledge that comes from education and experience. There are ways for Nevadans to get involved in the fight and raise awareness for Prostate and Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month by getting involved with the American Cancer Society, Nevada Cancer Coalition, Us Too Las Vegas for Prostate Cancer, Prostate Cancer Foundation, Movember, National Ovarian Cancer Coalition, Foundation for Women's Cancer Centers, and even checking in with our own website at cccnevada.com for more information. We challenge all Nevadans to be cancer advocates. The first step is raising awareness. I thank you for your time today and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And we will go to Dr. Parikh, who might just be the star of the show. Welcome, sir.
Well, I think these guys have made it easy for me, to be honest. So good afternoon, Chair Dondera Loop and the members of the committee. My name is Dr. Rupesh Parikh. I'm the practice president and medical oncologist here at Cancer Centers of Nevada. And again, I'm also in support of AB 187. Also want to thank Speaker Frierson and Governor Miller both for sharing their stories. I think it's critically important people in positions advocate for cancer awareness and spread the word about early detection. It's not a secret. Detecting cancer early improves survival. We all know that. It also lowers the cost of medical care, makes my job easier, as I give more good news as people live longer and longer. As was already stated, prostate cancer much more common in older men, but it disproportionately affects our minority population. African American descent, Mexican descent, Hispanic descent are all higher risk for these cancers. And the same thing for ovarian cancer. These cancers are found later on because there's just not good awareness of what to look out for. As Alex stated earlier with prostate cancer, as Helen stated earlier with ovarian cancer. What we have to do is try and find these cancers early, make patients aware of what to look out for. And that's what the month of September will be in the state of Nevada, is a month where we can rally like we do for breast cancer in October, also to rally for prostate and ovarian cancer to help these other women and men with these cancers and looking out for what symptoms to do, when not to ignore their symptoms, when to go reach out to their doctors. With prostate cancer, there's actually that screening test. It's the PSA, as it was stated. It's a blood test. But for ovarian cancer, there's not a good screening test. So symptoms are critically important. And if you're aware and if you know what your symptoms are, it will certainly catch that cancer earlier. I'll just give you an example. Helen is being a patient of mine, but another patient of mine, we call her Jacqueline, late 40s, had bloating, was told it was postmenopausal in nature, didn't really think anything of it, and then ended up in the emergency room with her belly full of fluid. By the time we figured out what was going on, she had stage 4 ovarian cancer. She just had her 3-year anniversary, but if she knew that her symptoms started a year and a half earlier, maybe that stage 4 would have been stage 1 or 2. Just one of many examples. If she knew what to look out for, be persistent with her symptoms, and follow up with her physician, she could have done the tests sooner and hopefully found her cancer earlier. So, critical piece of legislation in front of us, declaring September as Prostate and Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Full support of AB 187. I want to thank everyone for their time and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Parikh, and we want to thank you for your time and expertise and what you do. And two of these people I don't know, but two of these people are very dear friends of mine. So thank you so much for your time. And we'll move on to our last guest, Pastor Patterson. Are you there, sir?
I am.
It's no mistake and accident that we ended with you, Pastor.
Well, I've testified over the years several times, and I know some of the members of your committee. Madam Chairman, members of the committee, and Speaker Frierson, I really want to acknowledge Speaker Frierson bringing this forward. He and I have actually shared our stories for the last year. I was very good about having my PSA every year. In January of 2019, my PSA was 4.0, which is it's within the range of safe. January of 20, when I went back for my next physical, my PSA had climbed to 7.5, and my doctor described it as a very aggressive form, and they gave me 18 months to live. Obviously, I have beat that. All of the 18 months, I guess, technically isn't over yet. But I went through, I was not sure what I wanted to do. I'm 72 years old, 71 at the time. I wasn't sure what I wanted to put myself through, because in my position, I've seen many people suffer through chemo and several other things. In June, they talked me into doing radiation treatments, and I did that for 28 straight days. I don't recommend that as a recreational event. It was miserable. But in February of this year, my PSA had dropped to 0.83. So they declared me to be cancer-free, and I'm thankful for that. Why I'm supporting this bill is I was lucky. I had my PSA screened every year. And so they caught it in time that they could still do something about it. if I had waited another year, I wouldn't be here to testify. The PSA screening is not a big deal. The insurance company is happy to pay for it because they didn't want to pay for my radiation treatment because it was expensive, but they did, of course. And I think it's good that Speaker Frierson is helping us as Nevadans recognize this is a serious disease. And I think he mentioned it, that it is the most common form of cancer in Nevada for men. It's also the second highest cause of death in men. So we need to be aware. We need to catch it early. And we need to tell people, go get your PSA test, talk to your doctor, find out what can be done for you. And yes, I am a believer in prayer, and I had a lot of it going on during my treatments. And I guess I still have some reason to be here. I guess I should divulge I am still a registered lobbyist, although I haven't done any lobbying this year to speak of. And I am glad to see a couple of you. I was looking at the roster there, and I see a couple of very good friends on both sides of the aisle. So anyway, thank you. Please pass this bill.
Thank you, sir, and we'll take all the prayers and good thoughts that you have left. Thank you very much. So with that, Speaker, we have completed our guests. Does anybody have any questions for our guests? Senator Neal.
So thank you, Madam Chair. It's more of a comment. I don't think this is one of those bills for questions. So to Speaker Frierson, thank you for your fearlessness. To Ms. O'Hanlon, as they say, typically that means you have more work to do when God keeps you here. I can testify to that. So that means that this bill probably is the right point for you to expand your advocacy and education around what's going on. And so thank you, Speaker, for the bill. I know when I read over the bills, I was just like, okay, Speaker Frierson. I was like, simple, 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 simple. And then you come with a love fest and bringing everybody potentially to tears in a committee. So thank you, Speaker, for bringing the bill. Thank you for being fearless, putting your story on the record. It's very hard to tell your personal life in public, and it is very public because everybody can replay this on YouTube. So thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from anyone? Well, I will just echo my colleagues' sentiments. You know, sometimes the right bill in the right time, right place, right people. And by the way, session was in session, so it could have happened in a non-session year. So thank you so much, and thank you to all the guests for sharing your story. We know that isn't easy, but we so appreciate your time today. Speaker, anything additional you'd like to say? Then we will go to the public broadcasting. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anybody in the room that would like to testify in support first? Welcome, Ms. Fisher. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's nice to be here. For the record, Susan Fisher with McDonald Carano speaking on behalf of American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. All the speaker and the other speakers who appeared on video covered all of the stats that I was going to cover, so I will skip right to just saying we wholeheartedly support this bill. I'm very pleased that my birth month is going to be Ovarian and Prostate Cancer Prevention and Awareness Month in Nevada, and if by passing this bill and pushing information out in September entices one single person to go get tested or talk to their providers about their risk, then it's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the room in support? If not, we will go to the phone lines. Broadcasting when you're ready.
Thank you. you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of AB 187, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of AB 187, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we'll go to opposition.
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 187, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral.
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 187, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, Speaker, closing remarks.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. For the record, Jason Frierson. I just thank the committee for their time and attention. Miss O'Hanlon's story in particular gets me every time, but it's just so incredibly important that, you know, it's scary, but what's scarier is letting it get further than it has to go. And so I'm blessed to be here and appreciate all your thoughtful questions.
And we are thankful you are here, sir. So thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 187. Speaker, Vice Chair Orenshaw is not here, but after we do our bills, we may like to work session this bill today. So I just wanted to let you know so you would know that we are in that process. All right, the next bill we will hear will be Assembly Bill 236. And go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Good afternoon again. For the record, Jason Frierson, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm happy to introduce Assembly Bill 236 for your consideration. Assembly Bill 236 increases certain qualifications for the office of the Attorney General in Nevada. A little background, our state attorney general obviously is the top legal officer in our state, representing our state agencies and public interests of Nevada. They oversee our district attorneys, prosecute and defend cases in the Nevada Supreme Court, defend our state in the United States Supreme Court and other federal courts on matters concerning water, public lands, and provide legal opinions to the executive branch, boards and commissions, district attorney, and city attorneys. The attorney general investigates and prosecutes offenses by state and local officers and employees, crimes against older and vulnerable persons, and Medicare, insurance, and workers' compensation fraud. I believe it's time that the job qualifications of our top law enforcement officer reflect the needs and expectations that our state deserves. Over the years, the duties of the Attorney General have only become more wide-ranging and complex. However, the qualifications for Attorney General have not been updated since 1955. A review of the qualifications in other states found that Nevada ranks below many states regarding the standards placed on candidates for Attorney General. Now is the time to raise the standard for the chief law enforcement officer in this state to ensure future candidates have a certain level of experience in life, a background in practicing law, and a meaningful understanding of Nevada's history, cultural norms, and attitudes. Currently, the only qualification to run for office of Attorney General in Nevada is the person must be at least 25 years of age, be a qualified elector, and have been a citizen resident of this state for 2 years at the time of the election. There's no requirement that the Attorney General have a law degree or even any experience practicing law. According to information published by the National Association of Attorneys General, currently 9 states have a minimum of age of 26 ages or older, 11 states have a minimum of 25, 18 jurisdictions have no minimum age for holding the office of Attorney General, and 12 states have a minimum age of less than 25. The oldest minimum age is 31 in Oklahoma. And while many states have a minimum age of less than 25 or no minimum age, bar membership requirements of up to 10 years for some states implies a practical minimum age of 30 to 35 years, depending on the length of state bar membership. Most, but not all states explicitly require their Attorney General to be a resident of the state. State residency requirements range from 1 year in Alaska, Arkansas, Texas, Hawaii, Missouri, and Virginia to 10 years in Maryland and Oklahoma. Of the 18 states that do not require state residency, 8 do require their attorney general to be an elector. Therefore, residency is also implied. Many jurisdictions have specific statutory or constitutional requirements for bar membership, while many others have no such requirement. 14 states provide a minimum period of time that one must be admitted to the bar before being eligible to serve as Attorney General. This period ranges from 4 years in Wyoming to 10 years in Connecticut and Maryland. Now, if I go over the sections of the bill, in reviewing the text of the bill, you'll see that AB 236 makes just a couple of changes. It increases the minimum age required for the office of Attorney General from 25 to 30 years at the time of the election, increases the state residency requirement from 2 to 3 years, and adds a requirement that a person be a member of the state bar in Nevada in good standing. After reviewing the range of qualifications in other states, I believe these changes are fairly modest, but will set a reasonable standard for future candidates for the office of Attorney General. That, in a nutshell, is the bill, and that concludes my remarks. I thank you all for your consideration. It shocked me when I became licensed and actually worked as a Deputy Attorney General that technically the Attorney General was not required to be an attorney. And with the increasing complex issues that the Attorney General's office has to handle, I thought it was more than reasonable to require that the head of that office also be a licensed attorney.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the enhancements to this bill. Questions, Senator Daniel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the only thing I had was more of a curiosity question. How many AGs got in office who didn't have their bar?
Thank you for the record, Jason Frierson. To my knowledge, no Attorney General in Nevada has been elected who was not a licensed attorney.
And then for the 3 years piece, did you consider maybe making it like them having to live in the state a little bit longer?
Again, for the record, Jason Frierson, I did not. I do think that it's important that they be a resident to understand the issues in Nevada and the history of Nevada. I think in a practical sense, the combination of a few years being a qualified elector and also the age requirements and being licensed to practice law in the state of Nevada seemed to be appropriate. I will say that in conversations about the bill, what many folks said was that you could have an attorney with 20 years of excellent legal experience from another state who would move here and otherwise be a great candidate but not be qualified. And so I think that moving forward based on those comments, the intention was to leave it broad enough that we could have a qualified candidate in that regard without disqualifying them, but also have some minimum standards that were a little bit more consistent with other states.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? I have one regarding the age requirement. You said that Oklahoma, I believe, had a 31 age requirement. What are most of the states at?
Thank you again. For the record, Jason Frierson. Again, it's complicated because several states don't have an express age requirement, but have, for example, 10 years of practice as a requirement. And so I think, as I had kind of highlighted, 9 states are at 26 years, and there are several at 25. There's 18 with no express requirement. But again, many of those states have a requirement that you be licensed for at least 10 years, which, you know, in a traditional sense, unless you're quite frankly Doogie Howser, you're going to be
if you add it up.
Right, you're going to be 36 years old with that requirement, and that was assuming you're on the 4-year college plan, which was about half of how long it took for me to graduate from undergrad.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think these are all really good things for an attorney general at that level and that expertise. Any additional questions or comments? We're missing our vice chair. I'm sure we would have more. All right. With that, sir, we'll go to the room. And first, we'll ask if anybody in the room is in support. Okay, then we will go to the phone lines. Broadcasting when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of AB 236, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of AB 236, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition.
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 236, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. And neutral.
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 236, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Speaker, any closing comments?
I just thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank
We're
you.
more than happy to answer any questions if others arise.
Okay, thank you very much. I was going to ask after Senator Neal asked how many had served without without the requirements. I was going to ask, has anybody run, but that would probably take a bigger lift in history. So, all right, with that, we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 236, and we'll open up the hearing on Assembly Bill 304. Go ahead when you're ready, please.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, Jason Frierson, Assemblyman for District 8, here to present Assembly Bill 304. Similar to the legislation considered earlier, 111, this deals with the post board and requirements for training. It is, again, a very straightforward bill that expands the mental health continuing education peace officer requirements to complete, that they have to complete yearly, to add crisis intervention. According to data from the National Conference of State Legislatures, at least 27 states in the District of Columbia have laws requiring officers to be trained to respond to mental health, substance abuse, and behavioral disorder issues. In theory, the role of our criminal justice system seems simple enough on its surface: enforce our approved laws and penalize those who break those laws. However, in practice, the responsibilities we have placed on our criminal justice system, and particularly our peace officers, have only expanded. Individuals experiencing a mental health crisis are more likely to encounter law enforcement than receive medical assistance. When someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, family, friends, and Good Samaritans typically call 911 first. This means many of our law enforcement officers, by no fault of their own, are responding to calls they frankly lack the knowledge, support, and resources to effectively handle. Peace officers are trained in law enforcement, not mental health. However, as first responders, it's critical that we give peace officers the tools they need to help our vulnerable and at-risk populations. Crisis intervention training can vary, but in general, the overall goal of crisis intervention training is to improve peace officers' understanding of mental illnesses and available community resources, increase an officer's confidence in managing incidents involving a person with a mental illness, and develop skills related to verbal de-escalation to diffuse a mental health crisis and reduce use of force. This training criteria promotes diversion to mental health services rather than arrests. Assembly Bill 304 is rather short. The Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission establishes minimum standards for continuing education requirements for peace officers that shall be completed annually. Currently, training related to mental health is required. Section 1C sub 2 expands this continuing education requirement on mental health to expressly include crisis intervention. I would like to be clear that currently in regulation, as Chapter 289 of the Nevada Administrative Code, crisis intervention training is already listed in regs. AB 304 will ensure that the intent of the legislature is clear, that crisis intervention should be a priority from our law enforcement officers and part of their continual education. That concludes my remarks, and I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's just a really quick question about, because we are on 304, right? The crisis intervention. So when I think about crisis intervention, because it's including without limitation, like the range of those things that we're thinking about. Just to get a couple of examples about, because that could be a lot, but I just wanted some examples about the crisis intervention techniques that we're thinking about.
Thank you again. For the record, Jason Frierson. I would like to defer to the actual post director and members of the commission and law enforcement community who also were involved with helping me. This could have been combined with Assembly Bill 111. However, I thought it was important to be a standalone to talk about crisis intervention because it is so broad. And the reason that I preferred it to be in statute rather than a regulation is so that we kept it there and made sure it was a priority and made sure that we could adapt with a description that was broad enough to include all kinds of different, crises that officers encounter. As you can see, in existing law, as a result of legislation that was passed last session, we had already added de-escalation and implicit bias. And I keep remembering a video I saw of an individual who was having a mental health breakdown, and the police officer came and sat down on the floor and related to that individual and completely de-escalated the situation because of an awareness about mental health and crisis intervention. And as we have seen so many times, frequently that type of interaction leads to an arrest or someone being hurt. And so, again, I think that the definition of crisis is going to expand depending on the circumstances. It could be a mental health crisis. It could be a drug abuse crisis. It could be an emotional crisis. I think not every call requires someone to be handcuffed and arrested, and this gives police the flexibility and training to be able to assess that situation on a case-by-case basis.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I mean, I think, were you still going to have the post person or no?
I believe that at the very least, the executive director is still available.
Oh, okay.
And at least testified in the first house. So I would hope that he's stuck around for this bill.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I appreciate that example because it made me think about a couple of things because that have happened in North Las Vegas where I don't know if it was a crisis, but I know that they were potentially on drugs and they were hanging from the post by City View Park. And a cop that I know had literally climbed on top of a car, a police car, and then reached for him to keep him from basically falling on his head to bring him down. Which I was just like, it's like a little super cop or something. But, and then there was some person in crisis. They were wielding a machete in a neighborhood, and his sergeant didn't know what to do. And so because he was seasoned, been around for a while, was then able to de-escalate the situation. I mean, by using his body to push the guy so that he dropped the machete so that he could be disarmed and then cuffed, right? And so I get it. And I just think that, I hope that this bill will bring forward the seasoned community policing officers that are out there in the space and really will allow the agencies to look at their officers who have wisdom and training to be a part of the conversation. Because typically in policing, there's a hierarchy, and there's a hierarchy in terms of who gets opportunities to train versus actually looking at who has the wisdom and the skill set and who has actually encountered all of these situations to then do the real life scenarios that are different than textbook, different than a manual, to kind of draw out what is truly going on in the space, because that's super, super helpful.
Thank you. And for the record, Jason Frierson, I remember that incident regarding a machete as well, and that was actually above and beyond crisis intervention. It was pretty impressive. But I also want to point out that there are mental health providers statewide, regionally, who have also approached me who want to be a part of this. And so because it's already in reg and we have some mental health professionals that want to collaborate with Post, I think that it can only improve the opportunities for law enforcement to engage with incidents in the community in ways that fit the actual incident.
Thank you very much. And any additional questions? So can you, and this is kind of tandem to Senator Neal's question, is that when you talk about mental health and crisis intervention, I'm assuming because that's such a broad spectrum, right? It could be the person hanging from the pole. It could be the person with a gun you're trying to de-escalate. So whatever it may be, I'm assuming that the trainers are being trained at some type of a national level. Is that what's happening?
Again, Jason Frierson, for the record, I would defer to Executive Director Sherlock. I'm aware that they already conduct this training, and I believe there is a national movement with respect in particular to crisis intervention training, because it could be mental health, it could be drug use, it could be emotional. I have experience in the criminal justice system on both sides as a public defender and as a district attorney, deputy district attorney, incidents where a recognition of an individual's condition and an approach based on that condition went a long way. And for me at the time, it was individuals who I was familiar with, so I knew. But without that familiarity, I think crisis intervention training would have gone a long way.
Executive Director Sherlock, are you still on the line? We may have to pull him in when we go to support. Okay, thank you very much, Speaker. And with that, we'll go to support in the room. Two of my favorite people back in support. Thank you. It's good to see you at the table. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. We again want to thank Speaker Frierson for bringing forward this important bill. We support AB 304 and the intention to continue to improve policies that ensure that all of our citizens feel safe when interacting with law enforcement. We expect a lot from our law enforcement. This requirement will ensure that they are properly educated and trained when they interact with our most vulnerable community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Puro from the record from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. As somebody who may be seen to criticize law enforcement across this building, I think it's important to recognize the tough job that they have and all the responsibilities that we put on them. Quite frankly, we don't invest enough in our state's mental health systems. And it's not just a problem down south. As I've been up here now 3 sessions in a row, I've talked to some of the assembly people and senators who represent the rural districts and have realized the problem in those areas as well with mental illness. That's a lot to put on a police officer responding to a call. So training in crisis intervention is most certainly necessary across the board to make sure that those interactions are not deadly for either the person in distress or the officer. So we appreciate Speaker Frierson bringing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I apologize, I don't think I said my name. Kendra Birchie with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, for the record. My apologies.
Thank you, Ms. Birchie. Thank you very much. And with that, we will go to support online.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of AB 304, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 871. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 871, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please begin.
Good afternoon. This is Navid Afshar again. That's Navid. The last name is Afshar, calling on behalf of Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice. I'm calling in to testify to give our support to this bill. I really appreciate Speaker Frierson bringing this forward. I mean, this is one line, really amending the bill, but it could have significant impact. As many others have already said during this hearing, there are so many instances when law enforcement encounter someone who is having a crisis, and they may not understand in that moment what that person is dealing with, and they may view that person as potentially being hostile towards them when that person is having some kind of a psychological or personal breakdown. So to have this training, again, it's a good step. It's something we want to go in the right direction with. And I really appreciate everyone who worked to put this in here, and we encourage the committee to please support this as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 556. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIEGRANT. I'm calling in support of AB 304. I think all officers should have crisis intervention training. As someone whose brother was in a mental health crisis at the Peppermill Casino in Reno, and he was hogtied by Reno police for over 40 minutes and then asphyxiated at the jail, still hogtied when it was clear he was a threat to nobody. He assaulted nobody. He was non-combative. He simply asked for help. He was making statements that somebody was trying to kill him, and instead of helping him, they hogtied him, which led to his death. And I believe that all officers need to know how to deal with our vulnerable community members. Maybe my brother would still be alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 014. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Dondera Loop and the Senate Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Christopher Reese, R-I-E-S, on behalf of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I'd first like to thank Speaker Frierson for bringing forth Assembly Bill 304 and offer our support. Crisis intervention training has been an important part of LVMPD for many years. The vast majority of officers have been CIT certified for numerous years, and each new officer receives CIT training during their academy experience. Crisis intervention techniques continue to be an important part of de-escalation strategies, and we agree with this training being codified into law. Again, thank you, Speaker Frierson, for this important bill, and we extend our support of AB 304.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 766. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, yes, my name is Matthew Wilkie, MATTHEWILKIE. And thank you, Speaker Frierson, for bringing this bill forward. You heard from Anne Marie Grant just a few moments ago talking about her brother, Thomas Purdy, who was killed by Washoe County Police. I also want to mention Micaiah Lee, 18 years old, a Reno resident who was shot and killed during a crisis where his mother called police, let the police know he was having a crisis, which still resulted in his death. I do believe that if this bill was in effect, it very well could have protected, and Thomas Purdy and Micaiah could potentially still be with us today. Thank you so much, Speaker Frierson, for bringing this bill forward, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you've recently just joined us, we are currently taking support on AB 304. To testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to opposition.
To testify in opposition of AB 304, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral.
To testify neutral on AB 304, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And we received a message from Director Sherlock that he had to jump off for a meeting, and he will get your answers, the questions that have been asked. So with that, Speaker, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Jason Frierson for the record. I do not. I thank you all for your questions, and I thank all of the, in particular, members of law enforcement that have embraced this as the direction that Nevada needs to go.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 304, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 184.
Thank you again. For the record, my name is Jason Frierson. Madam Chair, members of the Government Affairs Committee, I'm here also with our Lieutenant Governor, Kate Marshall, and Christina Lopez to present Assembly Bill 184. We are here to present to you a bill that temporarily creates the Office of Small Business Advocate within the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. In 2019, under better economic times, the bill was first brought to this body with the premise of connecting small businesses with the assistance they needed to navigate the various intricacies of starting and running a business. Whether that's understanding state filing requirements, federal filing requirements, licenses, permits, certificates, renewal requirements, etc. The goal of this office was simply to be an advocate and a resource for our small businesses. Per data from the U.S. Small Business Administration, in 2020, Nevada was home to over 283,300 small businesses that employed over 503,100 Nevadans. That is 42% of our workforce. Small businesses are critical to our state's economy. The economic impacts of COVID-19 are no surprise to any of us here. Per the United States Small Business Administration, in April 2020, 51% of small businesses were negatively impacted by COVID-19. In November 2020, these numbers improved, with 29% of small businesses still reporting that they were negatively impacted by the pandemic. However, our food, entertainment, and education industries have been hit the hardest and the slowest to recover. For example, 84% of small businesses in the accommodation and food industry reported in April that they were negatively impacted by COVID-19. Our small businesses need us more than ever. With the influx of federal, state, and local resources available during these tough times, I see no better time for this office to exist and help Nevadans navigate through these tough times. I'd now like to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall and Ms. Lopez, who will be walking through the provisions of this bill, and with Madam Chair's permission, I have welcomed the Lieutenant Governor doing all of the heavy lifting, and am confident in her ability to answer any questions about the direction that the bill is going in. And with your permission, I would leave it to them and get to the many messages that I feel my phone buzzing with right now.
I understand that, sir, and I appreciate that. And I thought that we might be able to vote out your other bill today, but with missing 2 members right now presenting bills, if you don't mind, I think that we'll wait until a day when we have everybody here. So I appreciate that courtesy from you, and thank you for joining us today, and on to the messages. Thank you. Lieutenant Governor, welcome to Senate Government Affairs. We're very happy to see you, and we're happy to have both of you here today. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. And I want to thank the Speaker both for bringing this bill and his partnership, and also giving me the rope to hang myself in presenting the bill to you and answering any questions you might have. Good afternoon, Chairwoman and members of the committee. It's my privilege to come before you this afternoon to present AB 184, creating the Office of Small Business Advocacy within the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. I think that Speaker Frierson has gone over some of the data. The success of our small business relies now on our ability to prepare for both risk and also for resiliency going forward. In order for our state to build the type of organizational infrastructure that provides an adequate safety net to operate within the dynamic environment that is small business ownership these days, we must have a 3-pronged approach that includes business development support, regulatory measures, and advocacy. Currently, the Small Business Development Center serves to increase business starts, create and retain jobs, and increase access to capital. Within that three-prong approach, the SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center's mission, largely fulfills the business development needs within our state. The second prong of our approach encompasses regulatory measures, licensure, that type of thing, and is an important component to ensure the holistic health of our business ecosystem. It's essential to our state to have a department kind of dedicated to organizing and applying the complexities of both federal, state, and local regulations. That is the Department of Business and Industry that we have now that promotes the growth of our businesses, ensures that they are operating legally in our state, and protects consumers by maintaining a fair and competitive regulatory environment. Which brings me to the third prong, small business advocacy. And therein lies the gap. In fact, if you go back to the governor's recently released report on recovery and resiliency, the consultants stated that in Nevada, in particular, responsibility for rules and regulations is spread across multiple state entities. And I quote, as a result, there's limited coordination and conflicting communication with no single office or leader charged with owning all the issues of importance to this sector. Collectively, our small businesses make up 99% of all the businesses and 42% of the workforce in Nevada, making this industry a force or a drag and anchor if we do not support this industry to propel our state's economic engine. Additionally, our small businesses meaningfully contribute to the vibrant and diverse landscape of our economy. They build cultural epicenters that deeply defined our state's many unique communities. I don't know if many of you recently saw that there was a news TV show, news article on Schurz, Nevada. For those of you who drive back to Vegas, you will pass through Schurz. A woman there has opened a coffee shop and a vegetarian deli there. So if you are driving on 95, you should stop there. But that has become a central point in that committee. Individually, a small business owner's ability to operate their businesses and navigate through the many hoops and hurdles associated with ownership can be immensely burdensome. They need an advocate. They need a voice within state government to ensure that the resources that they need are seamlessly accessed and that the challenges they faced are directly resolved. That's why the establishment of the Office of Small Business Advocacy is not only vital, but necessary to ensure the long-term growth and resiliency of our small business industry as we move beyond this pandemic. Let me walk you through section by section. I will keep it brief. Sections 1 through 7 of the bill provide definitions. I'd like to point out that in Section 6, a small business is defined as 100 employees or less. This is in line with the federal definition. Section 8 creates the Office of Small Business Advocacy within the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. Section 9 of the bill outlines the role and expectations of the Office of Small Business Advocacy, includes that the office will interact with state and local government agencies to address administrative, regulatory, or enforcement functions on behalf of small businesses. Section 10 of the bill formalizes the processes and scope of the office, including how it shall receive and resolve small business complaints, compile and analyze complaint data to make recommendations to state agencies and the legislature on resolving problems and concerns of small businesses, and monitor the development of federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and policies that impact our small businesses. Section 11 of the bill authorizes the office to review requests with certain exceptions for assistance made by small businesses regarding the interaction with the state agency. Section 12 of the bill prescribes the protocol for the office to follow when it receives a request for assistance from a small business and mandates that a file be opened no later than 30 days after receipt of request and notify the requester when the file is closed. Section 13 of the bill requires the office to establish and maintain an education course for small business. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Section 13 gives the office the opportunity to that. It specifically says may, not shall. This allows the establishment of an education course, yes, but does not make the requirement to do so. Section 14 of the bill authorized the office to accept and apply for gifts, grants, and contributions or other money from governmental and private agencies to carry out the provisions of the bill. It does not make a legislative appropriations request. Instead, it will be the responsibility of the Office of Small Business to apply for and receive grants, contributions, or other monies from government and private agencies, affiliated associations, and other persons to fund this work. Section 14 creates an account in the Office of Small Business Advocacy, names the Lieutenant Governor as the administrator of the account. That is so that we can receive such monies that we apply for, and ensures that any interest in that account is maintained in that account for the purpose of the Office of Small Business Advocate. Section 15 of the bill requires the Lieutenant Governor to report to the legislature a written report on the activities, how effective we were, what we did, and basically to measure the activities within the office. Section 16 of the bill provides that records, files, and communications, whether made or received, are confidential and not public records. And then Section 20 is a sunset provision, which allows the office to run as a pilot program. This gives us an opportunity to prove to the legislature this concept that the state needs a small business advocate to provide you with data and reports so that you can then determine at the next legislative session whether you want to continue this office into the future. It's my belief that we will be able to get grants and appropriate and non-general fund appropriations for this office, and that we will be able to come before you in 2 years and prove out what we believe is necessary. In closing, I also have a letter of support. I know you guys have been at this for a very, very long time, so I want to give you the opportunity. I won't read the letter. I assume you all have it with you. I will just tell you who has signed the letter. Terry Reynolds, Director of Business and Industry; Michael Brown, Director of Governor's Office of Economic Development; Mike Kazmierski, President and CEO of EDON; Jonas Peterson, President and CEO of LBGEA; Shawnee Coleman, Director of the Community and Economic Development for Clark County; Favor Chikalu, the President of the African Chamber of Commerce and Tourism; Amber Stidham, the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Henderson Chamber; Peter Guzman, the President of the Latin Chamber; Ken Evans, the President of the Urban Chamber; Ann Silver, the President of the Reno Sparks Chamber; Mary Beth Seawald, the President of the Vegas Chamber; Joe Cato, the President of the Periwinkle Group; Tom Clark, the owner of Tom Clark Solutions; Glenn Galloway, the owner of Glenn with a Y Studio; Mari Gonzalez, the owner of Coolsville Tattoo; John Hopuch, the founder of Holo Discovery. I am sure I am absolutely distorting these names. I'm just going to put that out there, okay? Stephanie Gillian, the owner of Shadowlight Wellness; Lee Lanier, the owner of Lee Lanier Paints; Geneva Marquez, the owner of Saturation Gallery; Matthew Morgan, the owner of Stinky Monkey LLC; Kurt Thigpen, the CEO of Ace Studios; Derek Stonebarger, the owner of Rebar and Davies on Main Street in Vegas; Abby Whitaker, the president of the Abby Agency; Amy Conley, the founding principal and director of Design Tilt 23; Robin Slanina, the founder and creative director of Skin City Body Painting and Events. I'm not going to read you the letter because I don't want you to string me up for taking so much of your time. So with that, I will open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor, for this. Questions from the committee? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had a question on Section 9. So it's Section 9, Sub 2, and this is, it's 2A, where it basically is talking about working with the local government and resolving issues, regulatory and enforcement functions. Help me understand how that works mechanically.
So imagine that you are a local agency and you have submitted a letter to a small business stating that they are in violation of X regulation or X licensing requirement, and that you will enforce that requirement by withdrawing their license to operate, or closing them down for a period of days, or any number of things that a local business agency working for the city or the county is allowed to do and needs to do. The small business may have no understanding of exactly what the issue is. They may not be able, they may have applied for certain things. They may have some miscommunication. They may be talking to the wrong office that didn't send them the letter. They can call us and we will become the navigator. So we will call the agency to make sure that we put them in touch with the right person. We will make sure that they have an understanding of what the agency is telling them that they have or have not done. We will be a facilitator between those two, making it easier for the agency to get their work done, making it easier for a small business that does not have an HR office, that does not have a legal department, that may be very, very good at the products that they make or the services they provide, but not very, very good at business administration requirements.
So thank you for that. So I like the navigator piece, but I guess I'm still stuck on the enforcement function, because like the business license divisions, and I heard you say what, the Clark County, but then what would be the role of the business license divisions that are like within the counties who have the enforcement function to, and also they should be educating. There's a crossover, and then there's also a crossover with the Secretary of State piece when in Section 9, Sub 1, where you talk about starting, operating, and winding up a small business. Because I thought, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno had that bill in 2019 that basically asked the Secretary of State to put all of the business programs in one area on the Secretary of State's website, so folks could, number one, see what business programs were out there across the state, and so they could know what was going on. And so there's a crossover here. So how are you going to work in these spaces collaboratively with Secretary of State, which is doing, I guess, an arm of some pieces, but not all of the pieces?
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record. Through you, Madam Chair, to you, Assemblywoman, Senator Neal. That is absolutely, you have gotten to the crux of the issue of why we need an Office of Small Business Advocate. There are many myriad agencies and entities that are state and local that have requirements, regulations, licensures, enforcement activities for businesses. And there is no one hub where someone can help a business connect to the right place and the right person with respect to whatever their needs are. Nor do the agencies have the ability to coordinate with all the other agencies. They are very busy and very resource constrained to do what they are required to do. So you are correct. The Secretary of State's office does things, BNI does things, GoEd does things, SBDC does things. There are many, many entities in this state that a small business has to interact with. Who to go to, when to go to, and how to get to the right person is what our office would do. We would be a navigator, an ombudsman for that small business. So we would basically work with all of those agencies. Take the Secretary of State's office, for example. We would connect with the Secretary of State's office to have a liaison in that office so that we could call them and make sure that we found the right person. We are the bat phone for the small business to whatever agency or entity needs to be contacted. I can give you an example. We have done this on a one-off basis. So we had an entity call us. They had applied for a mortgage license. It had been 60 days. They could not get hold of anyone at the mortgage license agency. They didn't know who was handling their mortgage license. 60 days seemed an inordinately long time, and they called us. So I called over to the Mortgage Licensing Bureau, within BNI. It turned out that the gentleman who was working on their license had left. So the application for that business had been put on the pile of another employee who was new, who had then just put it at the bottom of the pile to try to work through it. We were able to explain to BNI that particular small business's application had been waiting 60 days through no fault of anyone. An employee left. We were able to get that application through within 3 days, and the business was able then to thrive. They couldn't do anything, and they couldn't get a hold of anyone. So it's these kinds of things that small businesses face every day, and they don't know where to go. And we would like to be that voice for them and connect them to the right place or person.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I ask one more question, Madam? Okay, so in section 9, it's sub 4D2. This is the conferences and inquiries and meetings. And so are you going to collaborate with BNI? Because, since, Terry Johnson had started doing those statewide conferences under Sandoval. And so are you talking about the Small Business Advocacy Office then partnering with BNI to make those conferences a little bit more robust, that they happen yearly? I mean, not in 2020, but after we're out.
Yes, so we have been in lots of conversations with Terry Reynolds, and it's one of the reasons that he is supporting us in the letter that I gave you. Basically, bringing together all these entities so that businesses can come in one place and learn from them, and the entities can learn from each other about what kinds of problems and things that we are having to address. This is part of what allows us to not only help small businesses, Kate Marshall, Lieutenant Governor, for the record, through you, Madam Chair, to you, Senator Neal. I apologize. I get very interested in this subject. This is part of what will allow us to not only help small businesses establish, but continue to grow. This is the problem that was identified in the governor's recovery roadmap that was produced. And this is why we will definitely work with all these entities. That's the goal, is to be able to provide them information and to be able to connect businesses to where they need to be connected to solve their problems. So we become overall more coordinated and then more able to respond to business needs.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll let other people ask questions.
You're welcome. Any additional questions from the committee? Lieutenant Governor, I have one, and it may be in here and I've missed it. If I want to open a small business, but I need help, I just need some basics, almost like a little class or something to take in order to know where to go. I have a really great idea, but I need that other information. Can you address that issue?
Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. Absolutely. So we will also have liaisons in each of the chambers. Many of the chambers provide webinars or technical support. And we also have a liaison within SBDC, which helps businesses, even even just at the idea stage, write up their business plan. So if a business calls the office and says, I have this great idea, but I don't know now, how do I begin this process, right? So we could say, all right, let me set you up with a counselor at SBDC. And then once you're through with that process, come back and we'll help you move forward from there.
Okay, thank you. And then as another question, I see your, in section 10, your information about complaints. So if I was a person, and apologies, if I was a person who was filing a complaint on a small business, would I go to you, or would I file a complaint and then it would come to the small business department?
If you are a small business and you have, Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair. If you are a small business and you have a complaint, you could come to us and we could connect you with the right place to file your complaint, or we could help you resolve your complaint. When the mortgage company called, they were complaining. They were not a happy camper. They were a happy camper at the end with both business and industries and us. If you are a consumer and you have a complaint about a business, we are not the Consumer Advocates Office for that. We are the Small Business Advocacy Office dealing with agencies, state, local entities.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, any additional questions, Senator Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just one last one on section 14. This was in section 14, sub 2, line 25. It says other money from governmental agencies. So are we talking about we're going to be doing like intergovernmental transfers of money to help?
Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record, through you, Madam Chair, to Senator Neal. No, that is not what that is referring to. Basically, I'll give you an example. The Small Business Administration has issued or is about to issue a notice of funding opportunity. We will be applying for a grant. That funding opportunity is for a small business navigator within communities. So we believe that we may be able to apply for that grant. In addition, the Governor's Recovery Framework has stated that they believe that that part of the ability to recover from the pandemic is to be able to connect small businesses, especially women and minority-owned small businesses, to aid that we know for a fact that much of the aid that has been provided to small businesses, women and minority-owned businesses have had difficulty accessing. So we will be applying for funds under that, because one of the roles that we will take on is making sure that if a small business contacts us about anything, that we will determine whether or not there is aid available to that business and connect them to the right place for that aid, pandemic recovery aid. So that's what that's referring to. It's those kinds of grants, those kinds of monies.
Chair Dotero Loop.
Go right ahead.
It's like the look is on my face and I'm like half mast. How many people are you going to need in your office to pull this off?
Lieutenant Governor, for the record, I through you, Madam Chair, to you, Senator Neal. Thank you for that question. We are the little office that could. What I will tell you is that other states have started with one person or two people, and they have grown as they have become more effective at what they are doing. In the first year of Oregon being up and running, I think I'm worried that I'll get the number wrong, so please don't hold me to it. But I think they handled something like 1,400 complaints. or inquiries. We will have one person in Vegas who we would hope would be bilingual, and one person in the north to handle the rest of the state at the beginning. We expect to use constituent management software, IQ software, which our governor currently uses, so that we can track the data of inquiries that come in and how long it takes us to respond to them, and compile the information. I assume that we will be hardworking.
Is that it?
The only thing
Okey-dokey.
I could add is little engine that could.
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you, Madam
I
Chair.
think I can. All right. Any additional questions? Senator Hansen, you're awful quiet down there, sir. Okay. All right. All right. With that, Lieutenant Governor, we'll go to support and opposition and neutral, if that's okay with you.
Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record. I hope that I tried to read off the names, and we tried to collect all these names in a letter in the hopes that that would be helpful in shortening time. So I hope that happens. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to support. Is there anybody in the room in support? Ms. Seawald, come on up. We're happy to see you. Join us, please, and go ahead when you're ready.
My microphone. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I really appreciate the indulgence. Chair Dondero Loop and members of this committee. For the record, Mary Beth Seawald, spelled S-E-W-A-L-D. I'm the president and CEO of the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is in support of the creation of the Lieutenant Governor's Office of Small Business Advocacy, and appreciate the Speaker of the Assembly Majority Leader, and the Lieutenant Governor for bringing this bill forward. As you know, Nevada small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Their success as job providers is essential to our economic recovery. As the state's largest and broadest business organization, 85% of our members, believe it or not, are small business owners. We have small businesses in every sector of the state's economy, and according to the Small Business Administration, small businesses employ more than 42% of Nevada's private sector employees. Many of the provisions in the bill align with the requests that the Vegas Chamber receives from its members about assistance with local governments and state agencies, including accessing resources, solicitation of feedback on regulations, and timely responses from state and local governments. A centralized approach as proposed by the bill will help small businesses as they navigate the challenges that come with owning and operating a small business. The reality is that the small businesses have limited resources and time. Many of them are just struggling to keep their doors open and to meet payroll so that they can keep Nevadans working. This type of assistance will give them a better chance of navigating the complexities of state and local governments to provide answers and to get the help they need. The passage of this bill is an important step to help small business owners and entrepreneurs succeed. During these challenging times, the more resources and assistance that we can provide to Nevada's small business owners, the faster we can work together to help rebuild our economy as we hopefully emerge from the economic and health turmoil that has been created by COVID-19. Thank you all so much, and we urge your support of this important piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us today. Mr. Kane, go ahead, please.
Chair Dondero Loop, members of the committee, my name is Connor Kane, C-O-N-N-O-R-C-A-I-N. In the interest of time, I think I'll keep my testimony brief, also because the Lieutenant Governor has done such a wonderful job explaining this bill, and also I think Ms. Sewell did a fantastic job expressing her support on behalf of the Vegas Chamber. I'm here today on behalf of the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, and also the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance in support of AB 184. We also appreciate the Speaker, the Majority Leader, and Lieutenant Governor for bringing the bill. And Senator Dondero-Lupe, we thank you for the opportunity to testify. And if I could quickly, since I have been here for a couple of hours, I did want to recognize, I frankly very rarely have the opportunity to do this, but recognize broadcast, all the committee staff, everyone behind the scenes who ensure that we can get into the building safely and can provide the public the opportunity to testify. I myself am oftentimes on Zoom. I have a hard time figuring out how to unmute my microphone until folks tell me that I'm muted and they can't hear me. And watching a meeting earlier today, like the one that the Speaker had where he presented his cancer awareness bill, just incredible watching broadcast coordinate, multiple people calling in by Zoom. And so did want to thank them and thank you, and again, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much for those kind words. We feel the same. Broadcasting and our staff, our secretaries and our policy analysts and legal have just kept the ship running. And so we so appreciate all their expertise and extra time that they've put in doing that. So thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you very much. With that, we will go to the phone lines to see if we have somebody in support. Broadcasting, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate all the support. If you would like to testify in support of AB 184, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 781, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. Nick Vanderpool, NICK-VANDERPOEL with Capital Partners, here today on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. Huge kudos to the Lieutenant Governor and this piece of legislation. And in the interest of time, I will echo what my colleague said, Ms. Seawald, Mr. Kane, ditto. And so thank you, and we urge your support.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to the next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 505, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, my name is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, Nevada, PETERGUZMAN. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to testify on this important bill and subject. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for bringing it forward. The bottom line is that at the Latin Chamber of Commerce, we've actually experienced growth during this pandemic. Our retention is through the roof. The reason why is because the entrepreneurship, the spirit of entrepreneurship and small business in this state is incredible, and we must do everything that we can to continue that. And I want to assure all of you that the Latin Chamber of Commerce and the other chambers are going to be there standing with the Lieutenant Governor, making sure this works. We're going to be the liaison, we're going to be the intermediaries, and we're going to be there to make it work, because that's what makes our state and our country work, small business. And so we have a vested interest to be standing with our Lieutenant Governor on AB 184 to make sure it is a huge success. Thank you so much for allowing me to testify.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 523, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Tom Clark. That's TOMCLARK. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition. We're like the chamber for the great outdoors here in Nevada. And on behalf of the many small outdoor recreation businesses, I want to state our support for AB 184 and thank the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker for bringing forward the bill. This office, once created, will help the entrepreneur that wants to start a bike shop in North Las Vegas, offer a guide service in Biolawi, or rent kayaks and stand-up paddleboards on one of the many waterways and lakes that we have in our state. You know, prior to the pandemic, the Nevada outdoor recreation industry accounted for $12.6 billion in annual consumer spending, $5.5 billion in economic activity, nearly 60,000 jobs, and millions in tax revenues. The creation of this office will help those small businesses that had to close their doors but want to reopen. those people with the next big idea follow their dreams, and support those that have weathered the storm. Together, we can make the outdoor recreation industry thrive once again in our great state. And just as a personal note, I hope you get a chance to stop at the vegetarian coffee shop in Schurz. I hear it's fantastic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 529, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you. Chair Dondero Luke, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Ken Evans, Kenevans. I'm the president for the Urban Chamber of Commerce and one of the signatories to the letter. As my colleagues have so well put it, small business is definitely a major driver in our economy. At the Urban Chamber of Commerce, the majority of our members are small, diverse businesses that will definitely benefit from having an individual in the Office of Small Business Advocacy. Because at the Chamber, we do three things. We educate, we advocate, and we try to position our members for procurement opportunities. So as you see, advocacy is one of our three prongs that we pay a lot of attention to. Therefore, we are very happy to see this bill be brought forward. I want to say thank you to the Lieutenant Governor, as well as thank you to the Speaker for bringing this bill forward. As my other colleague from the Latin Chamber mentioned, we also stand ready to help ensure that this is a success because our small businesses are depending on it. Thank you very much for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 216, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. This is Brian Reeder, BRIANREEDER with Ferrari Public Affairs, speaking on behalf of the Nevada Contractors Association. NCA represents general and subcontractors and affiliated businesses throughout Southern Nevada, and NCA works to be inclusive of all businesses and works to provide resources for small businesses, small disadvantaged businesses, those working to be successful in our construction industry. So we just want to thank the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, and the Majority Leader for bringing this bill forward and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no one in the room, we'll go to opposition.
Chair, your public line is open and working, and you have no callers at this time.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to neutral.
Chair, once again, your line is currently open and working, and you have no callers at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, Lieutenant Governor, do you have closing comments, please?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee and everyone who called in. I appreciate the support and also the belief that we will achieve this. Thank you for your questions. Please feel free to call me if there's anything else later. Thank you for your time, and thank you especially for your hard work.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. And may I make one request, please? We don't see the letter that you are referencing, so would you make sure that it gets sent to my office and the committee secretary for government affairs?
Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair. Absolutely, and I apologize that it was not submitted earlier.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We look forward to seeing it, and thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow on the floor. Thank you.
Thanks.
And with that, I'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 184, and we have one more item, and that is public comment. And so we will go ahead and broadcasting when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to speak in public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, your public line is open and working, and you have no one wishing to speak in public comment at this time.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that broadcasting. As already has been said, we so appreciate your time and joining us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we appreciate our staff, our secretaries and our sergeant-at-arms for hanging in there with us, legal, and our policy people. Everybody helps to make it a whole. So thank you very much, committee members. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you on Friday at 3:30. Thank you.